Ooh. And I hate this question because every time somebody asks me, like, and it's like, you don't even like anime, you know?
So what have you been up to today? Like, how's your day going?
It's been good. Been doing a lot of meetings today. Monday meeting day goes just crazy for me. Usually Mondays and Wednesdays are the days I try to like structure all my meetings around.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff, but I took a lot of those meetings by the pool, so that was kind of cool. But, yeah. How about for
By the
yourself?
pool? Yeah, I work a 9 to 5, so usually it's that all week, and then when I get off, I try to record this kind of stuff or build some content or do the stuff that I kind of have fun with or make some art. So
Yeah.
today has been not too bad. I work from home on Mondays too, so just knock it out and then go do some things that I like to do, hang out with my son, go to the pool, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What's your
today
9 to
hasn't been
5?
too bad. I work for it's called the Historic Agency. So we do branding here in the Arizona area. Not for just Arizona businesses or anything, but we do like good sense business. So like churches, nonprofit, sustainability efforts. So we do branding for a lot of clients like that.
Dope.
But yeah, it's great. I've been learning a ton, working with some of the dopest artists that I probably feel like I know. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's just like a playland right now because we have a really good team around us. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Are you freelance right now or?
Yeah, so I'm like full
Okay.
on freelance right now. I left my 9 to 5 back in April now, and
Okay.
just been like full on freelance design. But low key I am like still applying for or like listening to job offers more so like I'm like the senior art direction or like art
For sure.
design or
Yep.
art direction, product design, or like senior brand designer side of things. So
Got you. So like the upper level design type stuff.
yeah, so I'm taking some of those interviews still. But mostly just all freelance work right now.
For sure. All right. I think that's a good start, a good place to kind of get it started because
Yeah.
I think some of these questions, I'm starting to figure out how to get this set up. So some of the questions in here will bring out more of who you are as we kind of get going.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. So I want to welcome you guys to Do You Know Designers podcast, where we are showing off designers as more of a personality rather than a robot who just creates logos and pushes pixels around on a screen. We want to show the human side of the people behind the screens. So today we have Cornel. If you could give us a brief bio about yourself, kind of who you are, where you're from, what you're doing right now. Now to just kick everything off.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, shout out to you, Cameron, for even having me on the show today. So I appreciate it. For myself, my name is Cornel Beard, as Cam mentioned. My background is a lot of things, but most recently in the past 2 years, I've been a designer, art director, mostly working for ad agencies and small product design studios. Today, I am a freelancer, taking on branding projects, packaging design, product design, and blah, blah, blah. I have a son who you see behind me, who's great. He's amazing. And I have a girlfriend she's great. I have a dog right here who's sleeping on the floor. But yeah, that is myself in a nutshell. I'm great, feeling great, and great to be here.
For sure. Are you so I always like to get this out here. Did you go to college for design or are you self-taught or any of the other sorts?
My aesthetic is self-taught and it's amazing. My degree is in design. I have a BFA in design with a minor in marketing, as well as an associate's in kinesiology that I don't use it all anymore.
For sure.
And also I can get more into stuff later, but yeah, I do have a degree in design.
Okay, dope. Because your boy, I'm self-taught. My degree is in aerospace engineering, and it's like over there compared to what I'm doing now. So
no, that's sick though. Like, I feel like because you're a designer, you can be a better aerospace engineer now, you know?
For sure.
You wanted
if that's what I wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those worlds where I was like, I don't feel like I fit in this world. So let me go figure out how I can fit into the design world. Which is great about the times we live in. You could just be like, nah, I'm good. Let me go somewhere else. It didn't used to be like that. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to ask you some random questions. Some of them are more intense, so they're a little bit heavier. Some of them are about design. Some of them are just random. And we'll just kind of go from there and let the conversation take us where it takes us. So I am going to start with, what is your favorite anime?
Ooh, and I hate this question because every time somebody asks me, like, and it's like, you don't even like anime, you know, but it's still Dragon Ball Z to like this very day. Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball GT I'm not really a huge fan. But the manga, even love like all the good spin-offs from like fan-made manga series. But other than like the conventional anime, I don't know, like I've rewatched Demon Slayer through and through, like maybe 5 times now. It's the thing that I put all my friends on that don't care about anime into, because like it's a great story, even though like the first 2-3 episodes, Tanjiro just keeps crying and crying and crying and crying. I don't know. I can have a whole nother episode about anime. I would love that. Actually, low key, I just applied to Crunchyroll. They have an open art director position right now.
Oh, that'd be sick.
And I just went crying in DMs of like creators there, like, yo, hear my story, man. Put me on. But LinkedIn said they had 200 applicants so far, and it was posted today, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, man. I feel like people try to disqualify Dragon Ball Z, and I'm just like, how can you just? That's where we all started.
It's
like
great, man. My bad.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was
just gonna say one point, because I was thinking, I've been just rewatching some of my old Dragon Ball Z stuff, and Goku's character is just like so wholesome, man. Like
for sure.
And like Vegeta, like that partnership / like nemesis thing is just like, that's good cinema, man. You can't. It doesn't get better than that. So.
And I just feel like the redemption stories that they gave some of their characters is like, you can't, like, some people love Vegeta more like than Goku, and it's like to see his whole story and like him go through everything he went through, of course. Like, I watched Dragon Ball Z a lot as a kid, never really kind of got it sequentially, and then a couple, what was it, like last year I probably watched Dragon Ball through Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, I don't know how someone doesn't love this. Like this is freaking great. So
and even like Goku and Krillin, like that idea of like Goku being like this little jitterbug and just strong as fuck for no reason, in martial arts tournaments and meeting this little bald-headed dude and getting trained by an old man. It's like, it's a great story. Then like fast forward to he's potentially becoming like the god of destruction. Like, I don't know, just like there's so many things, and it's just that layered story. And did you see that fan-made piece that came out I think it was like last week? Which one? I've watched a lot. I watch a lot of them. I read a lot of them.
I think it was Legend, the Dragon Ball Tale, or a Dragon Ball Tale, or something like that.
You might give me like a quick synopsis of like.
Yeah, basically, it starts with Vegeta coming down to Earth, and Chi-Chi and Goku are fighting, and then Vegeta's like, and then Broly shows up, and then Vegeta and Goku are fighting Broly, and then they eventually knock Broly out of Earth's atmosphere into a moon, and the animation is just sick. Like it's like it's kind of, it reminded me of My Hero, where it's like kind of gritty, grainy, but like the animation style and then the way that they did their Saiyan modes was completely different than just changing their hair. So it was just kind of showing off how you could kind of do this a little bit differently. I thought it was dope. Vegeta kept getting knocked out of his Super Saiyan and then relighting it. And it was just cool to see him like, oh, I'm back. Like, I'm back in this. So it was, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty legit. Like,
you should drop me a link when we're done. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah. So Dragon Ball Z is definitely at the top. And I'm not one of those people who has dived into a bunch of anime. Yeah. My Hero right now is probably up there. And then Naruto, of course. Like, I've read all the manga for that now. And then Demon Slayer I've recently gotten into. And you're right. The first 2-3 episodes, you're like, I got to see more. Like, so it's pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah, Hero, My Hero. I love My Hero.
Sure.
I watched it all the way through. I think for me it peaked more so like Lemillion's story. I was like, oh, like he's just like a raw character, man. And like same thing, the whole Goku mentality is like, it's a nice guy that just like is just that dude, right? Like
for sure.
LeBron James. He's just like a good guy that's just great at what he does. But Naruto's obviously like, you know, that's elementary, middle school, high school for me and everything too. I don't know. I love anime. It's literally 9% of the things that I watch. Like, it's
for sure.
I have it on at all times, like when I'm working, especially.
It's cool, and I just love to see now that Black people can be accepted while doing it. Like to see like RDC, to see like RDC doing what they're doing and blowing up, and like it being anime centric, and like I don't know, man. I love that we're allowed to be nerds now. Like that's another side of Black people. I feel like we got added here recently in the past 5 years.
And that's honestly like and this is probably like free game to anybody that's even listening right now, but the art director position that I applied for Crunchyroll, I touched on a few of those things, like how the intersection of pop culture, Black culture, which is I guess like the epitome of like pop culture, if you ask me, and fashion and blah blah blah. Like anime is like inching its way to the epicenter of that, and with Crunchyroll being like the main streaming service, like holistically for that like for that industry, I feel like with the correct like merchandising, I don't know, this is like just too much stuff, but just I'm like, yo, put me in the game, coach. Like I'm trying to turn it up. So
yeah, that's what you're saying though. You're like, we're now becoming the pulse for that. So if you want to be cool, this is where you need to go. That's a great point.
We the new rock and roll.
That's a great point. Because if you look at like the merch and everything, the merch is definitely going into streetwear, and streetwear, of course, coming from Black people. So I'd get, bro. Same. And I think it's because we're designers, we're tapped into so many things to find inspiration. That's like we can't just pull inspiration from, I don't know, these books. We can, but I feel like we gotta go outside of that.
Lived experience is very important.
For sure. Okay, we're gonna hop on to the next question. This one might be a little harder. So what's the hardest part of being a Black designer?
Okay. Hardest part of being a Black designer. I don't know. I think it's the hardest part about being, let's like say, a conscious Black designer is like you're more aware of like your role in certain machines. And sometimes like you're tapped into being a machine, not because you're a great designer, but because like they need to check a box of adding a Black designer into this machine. And so the hard part is like, God, like the pay is so well. I want to be sought after because of my talents, not necessarily because like of my ethnicity, and like they need like a diverse perspective, or like if they're Black projects, they need to like add Black talent. So I think that's like the hard part. And then lastly, of like the conscious part is just like this podcast episode that you and I are on right now, and thinking about, I accept it because like I understand that representation matters, and that if my schedule's very busy and I decide not to do this hour conversation with Cam, that there's more other Blacks I can like talk to, but this is very important for people that either aspire to be designers that are, or look like you and I, or people that don't even know that it's even in an industry, and they just want to see people that look like them, that sound like them, that have that same experience, and may even be into anime, have that conversation so they can like feel more comfortable entering in that field. And so that is like a hard part that I feel like other ethnicities or like just other people don't necessarily have to think about, that like it's easy to say like somebody else will do it, it doesn't really affect me, so like why should I care, you know? And it's hard not to care when it's like affecting like the people after you that look like you.
That is a great point. Like we have to wear the future generations basically on our back, because we know if we don't do it, then no one else is going to come behind us and do it for us. So yeah, that's a great point. And that's the whole point of this show again, is to make sure that we do have representation, because I feel like, especially, I've been putting this podcast into the YouTube space, and you go on the YouTube space and there's no Black designers. Like, there's no one making videos. There's no one like doing conversations like this. And I feel like it's just to know that so many of our youth are there, and that to know that YouTube's a machine that is pushing videos to our youth, how important it is to kind of be in that arena. And I've tried this podcast so many different times, so many different variations, and it just had to be me. Like, it eventually started working when it was just me, because I was like, oh, okay, so there's a purpose to this all. So let's just go ahead and run with that. But yeah, you're right. The machine is the hardest part. It's just like, people want you to show up. You're sought after to be in the machine, but then they don't realize how you need to be treated once you're there. So they're like, okay, you're here, you're Black, do what everybody else does. And then when you need a little bit more understanding, or a little bit more talking to, or like to like a little bit more support to feel like you belong, they don't know to do that, because they just hired a Black person to fit inside a machine. So I've been going through that with, like, even the gig I have now. It's just been like a work in progress to kind of, this is how working together, me and you all, needs to look, or it's not going to work. And I don't feel like I had that voice when I was in engineering. It was just, that's a bigger machine. You're just like, these are like Fortune 500 companies. You're not going to tell them what to do. So and I think one of the last thing I'll add to it is, I think, going back to one of the earlier things I said about we the new rock and roll and like Blackness culture and blah blah blah, that those things are very important. However, I've learned in the last few years that there's like sides of design. There's like cool design. It's like the real cool shit that, like, it's like Coachella, it's like MTV, it's, you know, ads for T-Mobile and blah blah blah, and like, that's cool stuff, and it's like really tokenized by getting like Black talent to be featured in those areas. But then the other side of design, it's like UI design, it's product design, it's like the drier things that people don't necessarily think about or like put into their portfolios. And I feel that it's like very siloed in the sense of like, we want, and maybe this is like more just like my opinions going out, but just like, Black talent is like here in this cool arena, and it's like, there's so many of them, but we're going to pick like this one to be the poster child for like this T-Mobile campaign. But then there's like these other 10 designers that are actually like making the real money, building like the websites and the products and the stuff that's like not really like that flashy, but like requires a lot more attention to detail and blah blah blah. So I think it's really weird right now, and if I can like give any input to like any young Black designers, is like, pay attention to the UI UX space, even if you are a traditional graphic designer or an art director, because there's so much bread there. For sure. And there's so much work that needs to be done in those spaces. I mean, that's how you prove that you can move someone from here to there, is UI UX. So I don't think people realize that sometimes, but I think that's great advice. Like, and to be a part of that is everything, because that's where the world's going. So let's move on to the next question. I know you have a podcast. I added this question because I wanted to know a little bit about it. So what's your podcast's origin story?
I wish it was as cool as going on a school field trip and, you know, going to a lab and getting bit by a spider, then waking up with like perfect vision and a six-pack. But it's not that cool of a story. It's a very empathetic story. But so I do a lot of mentorship here in the Twin Cities. I'm here based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Shout out to the Twin Cities. Shout out to the hat. Shout out to the Twins for giving me this hat personally. That's a whole nother story. But so was doing this mentor stuff back in the day, going through the U of M, helping students with their portfolios, and had met a student who was a Black girl in the class, and she was really strong illustrator and just getting into design. And she asked if she can like come see like my workspace. At the time I was working at an ad agency called Call McVoy. I was on the design team there called 10,000 Design, full of great designers, great people there. And she came in one day. It's an agency of like 240 people at the time. She comes in, this is like, oh, this is great, Cornel. And I'm like, yeah, this. They got beer on tap. They got Pop-Tarts, all you can eat all day, every day. They got snacks. They got a soda machine. They got everything. You want an extra screen, like they'll put you in an extra monitor, blah, blah, blah. And after we were done with the tour, she was like, that's great. Only thing is like, I didn't see anybody else that looks like you here. And in my mind, like, yeah, it's kind of early. Like, I'll get in early. So like, it's that. But then like, I started thinking about that question throughout the rest of that day. And in reality, like, it was only at the time 6 Black employees of the 240 people that worked there. And on the design side of things, there's only 2 like Black designers. And so that was like the thing. And so that conversation, and then that same person met up with another friend of mine who is the co-host of the podcast, Calvin Buchanan, and talked to him about his position at United Health Group, and that same question came up. So what Calvin did is he hit my phone like, yo, I just connected with so-and-so. She said something about blah, 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 and representation. How do you feel about starting a video series interviewing other Black designers here in the Twin Cities to like showcase like representation within the industry? I was like, oh, that sounds dope. Let me get back to you. Like 10 days later, Alvin Washington, the producer of the podcast, hit me up. This is like December 2020. He's like, yo, like, what's up, man? Like, what you got planned for the year? Like, what are your goals? I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just trying to change the world. So what about for you? He's like, well, I want to produce a podcast. I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, like, so I talked with Calvin and he's actually trying to produce this video series. Maybe we can just like turn that video series into a podcast and just like let it breathe. And that was like the origin story. We all linked up, started a podcast, and here we are today. So that was December 2020 and it's July 2022. So
that's dope. Like, I think the podcast is how I ran into you all. I was like, dang. And then what's the name of your podcast again?
Underrepresented.
That's it. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, the name's perfect. Like, so I've watched a couple episodes and I'm just like, this is what we need to be doing. Like, this is absolutely it. So
we got some work to do still.
For sure.
We do a lot, but we got it's not perfect, but we working on it, and that's what matters most. So
yeah, that's dope. And that's what I'm saying. Just putting it out there is all that matters, and having these staples that exist on the internet. Like, someone's gonna run on IG, run into your page. It doesn't matter if you're putting out new content. There's content there for them to consume already. So
yeah, and I mean, honestly, like, you may not know it yet, or maybe you already do, but like this type of content, like the very thing you said, is like designers are multifaceted. That maybe they come with more than just design. Like, there's a whole person behind that MacBook Pro, and because your podcast showcases like your passions, over time, places, people, organizations, companies start to notice that, and they reach out to you to do things on their behalf using your platform. So like, we've been able to get like sponsorships, as well as receive projects that correlate with like our mission and our initiatives that we can then leverage. That's even like why I'm even freelancing right now, because like my podcast work has turned into like working for like some HBCUs or other predominantly like Black platforms that are creating whatever it is. So it's like, I like where it's going, and it just seems like the right place to be.
That's dope. And then I forgot who said this, but like, work gets work. Like, just doing it and putting it out there brings work to you. So that's really dope that you're like getting to even eat off of something that you just decided to do, like, on a whim. It wasn't some institution that had to validate you. You just decided to go and kind of create something yourself. So that's fire. All right, I'm gonna go to the next question. So what was the first album you ever purchased?
The first album I ever purchased. Okay, I'll answer it two ways. First album I ever received as a gift was from my parents, which was Usher's 8701. That was maybe second grade or something. crazy album. You know, you don't have to call it. That was my jam. I knew the dance and everything. And now to go on to the next part of this question, first album I actually purchased was, I want to say, when I got to high school. I purchased Kanye's 808 and Heartbreak.
Okay.
I think that was like the actual first like album that I purchased, because I was in that weird limbo where like when I was like growing up, we started to get like LimeWire and shit. So like I never really needed to like go buy albums. I kind of just downloaded MP3s in middle school and burnt CDs. And then I got a car and had to buy an actual CD. And 808 and Heartbreak was the first one.
I was saying that like that's a crazy album to be your first album because it's so emotional. And you're just, I just see a high schooler driving to school just like,
welcome to Heartbreak, you know? Yeah.
I think one of the songs was like, I'll see you in my nightmares or something like that. Oh, like
Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
That's on my gym playlist when I had like those moody lifts. So
yeah, for sure. I think my first one that I purchased was, my mom was from St. Louis, so I felt like by default I was from St. Louis. Yeah. So I think it was Nellyville was the first one, and then but because my mom was away, we had to buy our CDs from Walmart, so everything was super edited. And I'm just like, this is the jam. Like and then I had a moment in college where I had a buddy put this. He's like, oh, you got Young Jeezy's. I think it was like Trap or Die or something like that. Yeah. And he put it in the CD player and it was edited. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I thought everybody did this. Yeah. So buying music was a LimeWire did change the game though, even though we ruined so many computers.
Oh no. LimeWire gave birth to like the current landscape of music. It like kind of messed everything up because like.
What do you mean? Go on that. What do you mean by that?
Well, yeah, because at one point in time, people had to purchase vinyls and 8 tracks and like blah blah blah. So when pirated music became a thing, like they, that's how platforms like Apple or Napster or any other like streaming platform became a thing. Is because like that's the middle ground between like getting your music piratedly downloaded from whatever this thing is, or physically going to a store and like buying an album. It's like, okay, now well you can like buy it, like download, but it's like 99 cents a song. It's crazy. So like subscriptions are now the thing. So like instead of buying Drake's album for $11, you pay $10 a month and like stream everything you want, which is like, I don't know. It's absurd when you go into like the numbers of like streaming and how much artists have to actually do. It's like, I don't know, it's like 1 million streams a month will get you like $4,000. It's like, I don't know, you gotta be
awful
young boy NBA to like get anything. Or like, NBA young boy, so it's like whatever.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that, but you are right, because that is how they went. Apple selling single tracks was basically, it is the middle ground. That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's why there's no Sam Goody. Like that's why like the album section in stores are like so crazy now. But I don't know.
Yeah, and the only person who lost in all that was the person who was already losing, was the artist.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like literally, it's the person that like needed it the most. It's like, I work so much harder now just to get noticed, just to even start getting some type of like money. And I don't know, that's a whole nother conversation too, like this idea of like cloud and community building and like money and blah blah blah.
Because we do it also with like social medias. I mean, look at this. I put this on YouTube, and how many views do I have to get before I start making any type of money off of it? And like, you know what I'm saying? Like they do it in all those sectors. Like the creator is always getting kind of pushed to the bottom. That's kind of sad.
But like and like these are conversations I have a lot. Like whenever people talk to me about, because like I have a lot of experience like within like the Web3 NFT space as well. Okay. And so I do a lot of like talks centered around that. And
all right, I have a question for that. Yeah. So let's just hop into that question and then you can finish this off too.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your best explanation of NFTs in Web3? So that we can kind of put that out there, because I kind of know what it is, but you're in it, so I want you to kind of explain that.
Yeah, and so whenever I talk about NFTs or the space in general, and I guess to answer your question right away, an NFT is a non-fungible token, which essentially is like something that's certified using the blockchain. like in layman's terms, like blockchain technology. There's a, I don't know. That's it. Like it's just like a title to your car. It's like a deed to your house. It's like the code that's on a dollar bill that like makes it whatever. So like it's
like a serial number almost.
Yeah, essentially like that's kind of what it is. A little deeper than that, but that's like in layman's terms, like that's what it is. And as far as like the NFT space or the Web3 space, it's so open-ended right now, but essentially it's like using blockchain technology to build applications and to verify credentials using the blockchain. So if you were to imagine your Instagram account, if it was built on like a certain blockchain, whatever the blockchain is, like everything you do will be visible on the blockchain. So like when you log in, when you post a picture, when you delete a picture, when you send a message and blah, 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 all those things are like almost like transactions that are like logged into a ledger on the blockchain. And so like, there's like plenty of areas where like that technology can be very viable and very valuable, especially when it comes into like the financial landscape and banking and buying houses and selling cars, sending friends money and etc.
So I think you were going into what are you currently doing in that space? Like what type of work are you doing in that space?
So I'm not doing anything like it's so weird because I think people think of it as like this like alternate space to like exist in, when in reality like the technology is like the hero of the space. So what I mean by that is because of blockchain technology and like what NFTs are, you can start to take that same ideology and start to implement it in other areas, like how Nike has done with like verifying sneakers and like digital collectibles and blah blah. That's a very cool thing now that didn't exist. Or with, I'm sorry, my dog's gonna bark because my sister's walking in the door right now.
Okay.
But yeah, like verifying assets using blockchain. So like when Cam bought this ticket to go to, I don't know, whatever the concert is, like instead of like receiving an email saying like, oh, you bought this ticket, here you go, scan this QR code when you walk in, go to this thing, and now you go home, like, man, that shit was crazy. The email has like no value and there's no type of like collectible aspect to that. However, if you receive like a digital collectible that can live in your digital asset wallet, it may feel more like a treasured experience now, that like you received one of 20,000 like tickets that was whatever it is, you know? So I think I like talking about it from that lens. From a commercial standpoint, like the technology can do so much more for like actual businesses just using the tech. As for the space as it stands right now, it's really chaotic. The cool part is though, it's like bringing people together collectively from around the globe to just be people and be together or collaborate and produce a thing. And my one example that I will share with that from some friends of mine, which I met through an NFT project called Loser Club, which is really dope, a great project by a Black designer. This dude's Javon, he's a musician, past producer, songwriter, blah, 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 illustrator, created a generative project, you know, did really well, blah, blah, blah. But within that NFT project, there was a lot of people that came together that had a musical background, created an Instagram thread. At the time, I was running like these like Freestyle Friday spaces with some friends. And I hopped into like the chat with them and everything. Essentially what they did is like they all came together and decided to like use their talents to bring a mixtape together. So like producers and songwriters and designers and illustrators and instrument players or whatever they are. All that shit came together and they created an NFT. They created a mixtape, made it as an NFT, released it like 2 weeks ago, and it's called like the Outsiders. So it's like the outside, that's what it's called, the Outsider Collective, I think. But they sold them all for like 0.05 Ethereum, which I think is like like $75 a piece, and they made I think 250 copies of it, and it sold out. So like I don't know, it's just like a cool thing of like people from around the country, around the globe actually, for that project came together like through Discord, and like they're like streaming and chats and blah 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 for a long time. Then they had their first like concert in NYC back in June, and it was just like, yo, this is crazy, bro. Like, why? Like, what is happening right now? How did
that's crazy?
That actually couldn't have happened 20 years ago because of like the barriers to like find a producer that I can afford. But now like Cam and I share a vision. You're in AC, I'm in Minneapolis, but we can now collectively come together and make this thing happen because of our shared, passions or whatever. So
for sure, that's sick. And I think that's gonna happen more. Like just to be able to kind of bring those worlds together. And I think Discords and Slacks are the way of the future. That's how people are going to communicate. We think social media is it. I think there's more to it. We're coming to this new world where you can be in almost your own environment with people that you actually mess with, and you don't have to worry about these outside voices having any say in it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, because that sounds sick to just bring that kind of like Dreamville, bringing everybody into one location, but y'all didn't have to go into one location. You could just do it using the different pieces around the world. That's sick.
Yeah. And one, I guess, like good metaphor that somebody described to me like a while back is thinking of, when we think about Discord or Slack or whatever it is, mostly Discord, because it's like the most up-to-date server that is what do you say, like it's not controlled by anybody. Like I know it's controlled by Discord, the company, however, like it's not filtered, it's not controlled by an outside entity to like whatever. So it's very open right now. But anyway, so thinking of like Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or those things as being like the streets that like you can like navigate through, and then thinking of like places like Discord as like apartments that you can like go into and then like find places in there. I was like,
and then they have the different channels, and the channels are like apartments. That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah, because like in theory, I worked for my last job. I was working as a designer at this like product development company, and one of our clients was GameStop, and GameStop had just went through like the big GameStop short squeeze and everything, and Walls and Robinhood was like getting sued left and right and blah blah, and that's when like NFT space first like stepped on my like desk. It's like, what the fuck is an NFT, and like what's happening over here? And obviously like Discord was actually created for the gaming community, not necessarily like the NFT space or web spaces. So like it's like, why does GameStop not have a Discord? Why doesn't everybody have a Discord yet that's like doing something and like create sub channels? And shortly after, Turtle Beach like launched a Discord and blah blah blah. Like, so I think in time the world will catch up and like hop into like these like new pockets of culture.
For sure.
But you can see the value in a lot of those things.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's gonna be huge. But yeah, that makes you saying that makes me like, I need to make sure I'm moving people over there, and I need to put more of a concerted effort to move people over there.
I think it's like the reverse though. I think it's like getting that to come over like here, because like it's weird, because the friction that I see like I don't ever talk to people like about like you should like get into NFT space at all. It's like I don't have that conversation, because that's a financial conversation. Most cases right now is like people look at like going into the NFT space is like, I'm investing my money to like buy something that I have the intention of like seeing it grow in value.
For sure.
And investments like stocks, cryptocurrencies, and blah blah, something I've been very passionate about for like the last decade. And like I don't want to convince people like that this is how you go over here to make money. It's more so like, come over here and be curious about like how this technology can like change the landscape of like whatever platforms you're currently working with.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's it. Because you don't want to be making financial decisions for people, because what's happening right now is what's happening especially with the financial landscape, and you don't want that to be all your money is now tied up into something and you can't even get to it. So I respect that. All right, I'm gonna go with the next question, which is what has been your favorite part of being a father so far?
Favorite part of being a father, my son like being like me. Like it's the coolest, you know. Like I love when he starts to adopt my language, or when he starts to adopt like the way I dance, or even like the way I shoot basketballs. It's like he's like constantly trying to mimic the things that I do, and that's like one part. Then the other part is just like obviously the constant growth and like school and everything, blah blah blah. But like I love seeing excitement in him. I love seeing him getting like, or learning and like being curious about like things. And yeah, the thing right now is like cars. We can't drive past a Mustang, a Camaro, or a Charger, or any old school or any large truck without his eyes like getting really big and like saying like, oh, did you see that, you know? So yeah.
That's dope. Yeah, my son's in that lane too, where he's starting to use my language. Like the other day he was eating something, he's like, this is fire, and I was like, what? Sometimes you're like a little taken aback, and I was like, I guess I do say that. And then like when he was even younger, like 18 months, and I used to say like, he used to be like, sorry, and I'm like, where is he getting that from? And then I said it once, and I was like, oh, that's me. Like he has nothing else to grab from but me and my wife, for real. And it's like, that's so cool for them to be paying that much attention. Like, oh, this is dad says it like this, so I want to say it like that. So
yeah, we were at a family reunion this weekend, and like he doesn't see his extended family all the time at all, because like they all live in Milwaukee and Chicago. We live in Minneapolis, so we go up there like once a year. He's 3 years old now, he'll be 4 soon. And going up there this time and like seeing his cousins, they're like, oh, what's up, Theodore? And Theodore like puts his hand out like, what's up, you know? And like they're like, oh, this little man cool as hell, you know? And like they ask him questions and he can like whatever. And like now like the picture that we took this year of like him and all of like the next generation of kids, he's still like the youngest amongst them besides like a baby, but like he's just like so happy and like so cool. And, like he can just tell his personality for a lifetime already.
Yeah, bro. I love it. And my favorite thing probably is just the laughter, the joy. Like just to see him have the ability to just be happy and be himself and have fun. And it's like, you think back to like when you were a kid, and like I don't know what I was like as a kid, and then I know as a teenager or like as even younger than that, there wasn't sometimes joy and like happiness. So it's like cool to see that. And then also like I feel like, I don't know if this is good or not, but I feel like it's a little bit of my responsibility to shield that and make sure he still gets to have that joy in his like in his like child years and then his teenage years. And it's just like, man, I just love Black dads being like getting to be dad. Like we're dads, like we're at home, we're doing this stuff, and it's like it's I feel like it's like that's our pandemic. Like we just all decided to be great dads, and I just love seeing that. So trying to keep the narrative going, man. Like I think it's very important, and we'll see those fruits, you know, a decade from now, like 20 years from now, and I don't know, it's a good place to be. For sure. All right. I think it's time to hit the last question. I asked everybody this question. Okay. What is your design end game? Like the end of the road, the sun's going down, you're riding the horse out. What is that?
Yeah, honestly, my goal is for one day to snap my fingers and get rid of half of y'all, you know? No, I'm playing.
I was like, oh, okay, tell me more.
But nah, I think my end game as a designer is probably just getting even like further away from design. I like to say like I like using design to like bring people together to like have a shared experience. And the more days, months, years that pass by that I'm a designer, the more I realize that spending that time behind the desktop to like design is, in my case, like taking away from the time that I can use to like create the impact within the design landscape. And so I would love to get to a place where I'm more so mentoring designers, aspiring designers, students. Actually, I start grad school in 2 months to be, I don't know, Master Cornell, but it's a graphic design and whatever. Anyways, I want to get that degree so I can like teach at the collegiate level someday for design. So yeah, I think my angle is just like impacting more people using my talent, skill set in person.
For sure. Yeah. And I love that. Like, because again, we're doing something that you don't have to be a rapper, basketball player, NFL, doctor, lawyer. You don't have to do that. We get to kind of live a different lifestyle from everybody else. Yeah. And it's like, you're absolutely right. If we can share that with people, especially people who look like us, who already have the culture and already have the understanding of what cool is, how easy of a jump is that? So
I tell you about, you can't teach sauce, man. Like, you got to come with it, you know. It's not in the DNA, you know. Like, you can, watch some TikToks or something like that, watch some posing videos or how to fake it till you make it. But for the most part, like, it's got to be in you already.
For sure. Yeah. I'm excited to kind of see that path for you and support you in that, because we'll probably do more stuff together. But yeah, that's how I feel too, is I'm like, I feel like I gained all these skills and I want to be able to pass them on. I don't want it to just be something that's like stagnant and I'm the only one with it and I'm making like per se making all this money off of it. Like ownership is the thing. Yeah. But I think part of being an owner and a boss is bringing up that next generation, which that's the thing that corporate America doesn't understand, is to be that and be that impactful, you have to also be bringing the next generation along with you. So that's sick.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Like I said before, I appreciate the time today.
For sure.
And as I mentioned, like, we'd love to do a collaborative something at some point, whether that's podcast episodes, some like collaborative merch, or some nonprofit venture. Like, I'm with the shits like 10 times.
Merch is a good idea, because we'll talk. I have some ideas. So go ahead and let everybody know what your socials are, where you're at. And if you want to add anything you're working on that you kind of want to shout out, go ahead. Yeah,
for sure. You already know what it is. It's Cornel. Hit me up at Cornel Beard, Cornel Beard. Beard is my last name. It's not a facade. I just came like this. Shout out to the podcast. We got working on Underrepresented. Find on Instagram at _represented. But if you check out my socials, it's in the bio of all those things. There's a lot of things I'm working on right now. Everything I'm working on, I'm very excited about.
For sure.
Can't talk too much into details about anything, but last little shout out I'll give is we got an event going on this fall. It's gonna be crazy. It's here in Minneapolis. If you can come, Cam, you should be here. I'll make sure I get you an invite. Can't buy your plane ticket, but we'll figure something out. But I can't get too much details out about that either just yet. But it's a lot of things in the works. I appreciate the time today. Thank you for the platform, and I wish you nothing but success with you said DWYD.
Yeah. Do you know designers?
Do you know designers? DYND.
Yeah, DYKD.
Oh man. All right,
It is what it is, man. It's if you hear, you hear. So if you've made it to this far, I want to thank you for being here. If you enjoy and support what I'm doing and the stuff I'm putting together, go ahead and hit the like and drop a subscribe and a comment. So I want to thank you for watching this episode, and I will catch you on the next one.